Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Bear, and today I'm actually on camera again just because I have recorded so much fucking things in the last, 3 hours or so. So I just might as well get this out of the way first. October's come and gone, and we have more albums to review, so I'm just gonna quickly get into it.
I guess I really played it wrong. I should have never let her slip away.
This album, I really did not believe that was anything special. I thought it was a little bit overhyped just because of the way that Charlie Puth has been portraying himself on TikTok. It really has just been showing, he's really just a know-it-all when it comes to his music, because there's a lot of times where, he would do very basic pop production, but also try to mix in these melodies and try to explain them further, but they really don't have anything special to them. The album is just very generic in my eyes. I was actually really hyped up for this album too. I thought that Chloe Moriando had one of the better pop punk albums of last year, or indie pop, whatever you want to call it. And she was moving on from that into hyperpop with her singles Hellhounds and Fruity. But now that she's moved on to the sort of more futuristic side of pop, I feel like this album was a little bit lopsided from that perspective. There's a lot of experimentation on the album, especially for Chloe Moriando's music, as it moves away from her original style. Either the songs are just either very good or they just don't hit at all. They're very hit or miss throughout this entire project. This album was long awaited ever since 2020, and I'm so glad that it is here. Counterparts probably has one of the best hardcore albums of this year. Pretty much all of the songs on this album hit. All of them just have their own little things about them that I enjoy. The little quirks in the vocals from Brendan Murphy and the breakdowns always hit harder than ever. I thought it was really decent.
Got a job I can't lose, rehearsing my perfectly scripted excuse. Need something.
Honestly, I don't really remember much about this album just coming off of my list here. But what I can say is, I do enjoy the tracks for the personality that Easy Life likes to present. And also, a lot of the collaborations on this album actually really do hit as well. OTT featuring Bene, Miss Holloway featuring Kevin Abstract, and Antifreeze featuring Gus Dapperton come to mind as well. I don't really know how to describe this album without just saying it's a perfect Lamb of God album. Literally, there's nothing that I can really say that I would change about this album at all. Lamb of God have already more than proven themselves to be one of the best metalcore bands of all existence. And Omens, Ditch, To the Grave, Grayscale, Denial Mechanism, all of these songs deserve to be in some sort of someone's top list this year, as I know at least one of these songs are going to be in mine. I gave Willow the benefit of the doubt just because I just believe that her first album wasn't too bad in the terms of what was presented. I feel like this album just panders a lot as well to the TikTok emo craze that started because of Machine Gun Kelly's dumbass. I just do not enjoy Willow Smith's voice. I really think that it's very straining at times, and it's just not very entertaining. It gets really old really quickly. What the fuck happened in 1975? This is the first deep dive of a 1975 album that I wanted to get into, just because of all of the things that I've heard about this band. This is possibly one of the worst albums I've listened to all this year. Everything about it just rubs me the wrong way, and it just has the worst decisions for every single scenario. Bad vocals, bad lyricism, cringy lyricism at times as well. That's another thing. Some of the lines on this album, man. I don't even remember what song it was, but there was something about public masturbation or something. I don't know. But all I know is I do not like this album at all. And once again, we are not falling through with Save the Baby. I do not like Enum Claw's vocals. I think that the music is very boring. In my opinion, I don't think it translates very well. It's very one-sided. It doesn't really have a lot of progression throughout, and it doesn't really have anything that can really give you a sense to listen to it again.
baby, keep it silent. We ain't even deep as we used to be, this shit slick divided. Bro, ain't got no hustle or nothing.
For as low as I rated this album, I think that this is one of Lil Baby's more stronger projects that he's been releasing in the last couple of years. I believe that Lil Baby can actually do pretty decent music when he wants to, and this album had a lot of great songs on it, actually. Russian Roulette, Perfect Timing, Never Hating, featuring Young Thug, In a Minute, Not Finished. These songs are actually pretty decent. When you have all of these songs, and you have such a bloated track list, as we've been seeing with many different rap artists in the last couple of years, when an album gets padded like this, eventually it's just going to fall into obscurity, and I'm afraid that it's going to be the same thing for this album as well. I am so glad that I got to see this album live, and I'm so glad that I was able to get the interview with Ingested at that show, so go check that out for the podcast if you have not yet. But even if I didn't listen to this album, as I did not listen to it before I went to the concert, the narrative that is constructed throughout the entirety of the album, and especially the very expansive and precise song structures of Lorna Shore, where I think that they've actually changed a lot of deathcore structure in music recently. Even though that this is only a 10-track album, it is definitely worth your time, especially for all three of the Pain Remains. I mean, Cursed to Die, Sun Eater, Into the Earth, Wrath, all of these songs, great throughout, and we cannot mention a Lorna Shore album without mentioning Will Ramos's vocals. I am so glad that I've been able to say something about Will Ramos finally, because if y'all checked my videos all the way back in 2020, I talked about Immortal, which was the CJ McCreery album, and I thought these guys weren't going to be able to rekindle, but then Will Ramos comes on and completely demolishes this band, and now they have one of the best deathcore albums of the year, if not the best deathcore album of the year. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I do enjoy Johnny's very powerful vocals. It's almost like his vocals are another instrument to add to the music. But honestly, I don't know. It's something about this album just doesn't really click with me. It's the same way as a lot of other progressive rock bands do, such as Highly Suspect. If you guys like some very decent metalcore mixed in with some very decent electronic production mixed in as well, such as Wage War, Conquer Divide, stuff like that. Bitter, Coast is Clear, Get Free, Ghost of You, these songs are all great. This is probably Sleeping with Sirens' best album ever since probably 2015's Madness, which I believe was one of the last times that they had a very, very solid album throughout. Even though I do like songs off of How It Feels to Be Lost, even though I do not like Gossip that much. Gossip is probably my least favorite Sleeping with Sirens album. This album has really shown that Sleeping with Sirens have a newfound fire within them, as the edge that used to be on the albums such as Feel and Let's Cheers to This, all of these albums actually cemented a lot of people for Sleeping with Sirens' music. But with these tracks, they present a new style of their metalcore / hard rock music, and songs such as Crosses with Under Oath Spencer Chamberlain, Us featuring Dorothy, Let You Down with Charlotte Sands, Bloody Knuckles, which is probably one of my favorites this year, Complete Collapse, Tyrants, another one of my favorites this year, Family Tree with its great lyricism and storytelling, Apathetic and Grave for their amazing vocal abilities from Kellen Quinn. This is just a great album from Sleeping with Sirens. Tovlo overhyped the fuck out of this album, and I was trying to look for some sort of meaning within it and just try to, see what is the real story, but honestly, I couldn't really pull together a comprehensive narrative. It's just some very basic 80s pop production that a lot of people like The Weeknd have actually mastered, but people try to ride off the coattails of, and this is one of those albums. This is definitely not my favorite Varials album. I do believe that they have a lot better albums than this, but they have some very decent bangers. Like I was saying before with Chloe Moriando's album, I believe that a lot of the songs on this album are very hit or miss. Scars for You to Remember, A Body Wrapped in Plastic, and probably the best posse cut in metal I've seen in a while on Day 3, Revenge. But other than that, I just do not think that this album is going to be very memorable in the grand scheme of their catalog. Dark Bloom has basically been an album that has been teased ever since 2019, even before the pandemic began. And I remember when they were supposed to be going on their tour with Dayseeker, Devil Wears Prada, and I believe it was Gideon, that they were pushing out a lot of these tracks too. So a lot of these tracks are a lot older, but it still does not take away from the magic that this album presents all of these songs in. Songs such as like Black Hole, Dark Bloom, Daggers, Holding the Ember, One More Day. Well, more of Black Hole and Dark Bloom. These songs have been out forever, and I feel like seeing it all together makes the album a little bit better, just because of you can hear what was clearly trying to be put together in the years that it's taken for this album to come out. I used to love Architects for their very melodic style of metalcore, but ever since their last album, that album I just did not like at all. I thought it was very busy, I thought it was very overcompressed, and I thought it was a very amateur album for somebody like Architects, who I believe have a lot more to give than just making basic dad rock with an occasional scream vocal. I mean, Deepfake was a decent single to lead out on. When your lead single is your best song on the album, I feel like it leaves a lot to be desired for your full project. This album can fucking suck it, honestly. I do not like Meghan Trainor's personality. I do not think that she is a good singer. Her albums are basically just me, 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 me. It's very pandering. It's very all about her. She's a very unlikable personality. And not to mention how she tries to do all of these different vocal harmonies to make it her a cappella, but she can't sing. Her vocal range just does not match what she's trying to do here, and I feel like that just makes the album worse in the end. Hi, I'm the problem, it's me at T. I thought this was a decent album from Taylor Swift. I did not like it as much as I did like Folklore. I feel like her switch from indie pop / bedroom folk, if that's how you want to describe it, I feel like her shift into that has been very natural, but I feel as if this album at times just drags a little bit. Even though a lot of the songs on here are undeniably catchy, I just don't think that I just would return to this album besides a couple of the tracks such as like Anti-Hero, Question, Midnight Rain, Lavender Haze, and maybe Labyrinth. Fire from the Gods are a rap rock outfit that I saw recently in April with From Ashes to New, and they are actually a very decent band. I have not done a deep dive into the discography yet, just because I just haven't had the opportunity, but all I can say is this is a pretty decent album from Fire from the Gods. I've always enjoyed the vocals from AJ. That has always been a factor in me liking their music. And also songs such as SOS, that song has been in my rotation for pretty much ever since I listened to it. That something about that just really just makes my ears go happy. Double-Edged Sword, another song that has a pretty decent lines. Be Free, The Message, Love is Dangerous. It does sometimes fall short and just falls into the generic rock outfit. But other than that, I believe that this is a decent album to listen to. This has probably been the biggest jump from a review that I've ever done for an album. If you guys saw my Fit for a King review all the way back in 2020, I definitely did not like that album. I thought it was a very, very unfinished project. I thought that there was a lot of things that they could have done better, and the production just lacked a lot on those levels. Some of the songs fell victim to generic song structures and very not well put together vocals and just really generic songs. But this album right here turned everything that I said about that 2020 album up onto its head. It seems like Fit for a King have finally taken themselves even more seriously, and these songs just have so much behind them. Songwriting is 10 times better, the breakdowns hit twice as hard, and not to mention just how great these songs are in general. The worst song on this album is better than any good song that was on the 2020 project. The Hell We Create and The Other Side, which I believe is a song that's based off of Brian Kirby's wife actually suffering a stroke, I'm not really going off of any information that I've researched, but I've been told that that was what that song was about. Falling Through the Sky, Reaper, Eyes Roll Back, Reaching Out. I also heard a lot of these songs live when they went on tour at Blue Ridge, and not knowing how these songs were gonna sound, they sounded great live, but they sound tenfold on the recording, and this is definitely going to be in my top this year for sure. I love Palais Royale. This is just another Palais Royale album. High octane punk rock with Remington Leith leading the charge. Punching Bag is a song that was on my top list last year, and mixed in with Broken, Fever Dream, No Love in LA, King of the Damned, Off with the Head. This definitely isn't my favorite Palais Royale album, as I believe that the Bastards from 2020 was so much better. I don't know, maybe it's just because of the songs like Fucking With My Head, Nightmare's Lonely. All those songs have been in my rotation ever since they've been on my list. But now Fever Dream is a little bit of an outlier in their discography in my eyes. I thought this album was pretty whatever. I mean, I was expecting a little bit more, but there's no real progression for this album. It just kind of goes, and the vocals don't really impress me at all either. They're very quiet. The production is very spotty at times as well. I just don't like this at all. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this month's album reviews. Hopefully this is going to take a little bit less time, considering the fact that I'm on camera this time, so I don't have to worry about putting any music video backgrounds or getting copyright claimed. So if you guys enjoyed and you guys want to see me more on camera, just let me know, and I'll talk to you all later.
Somebody raise a glass.